Hi, this is Ford Saeks. Welcome to another episode of Fordify Live. Today's guest is Cliff Kennedy, and I met Cliff at the IFA because he came up and he said, "Hey, I read your book. Can you sign it?" I'm like, "Yeah, tell me more about you." And he started to tell me about his story. And I thought, he would make a great guest for Fortify Live, not only an entrepreneurial guest, a success story, but also some of the things he's learned in the franchise businesses and how he's done it. So first of all, Cliff, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Like you said, it was great meeting you in person after reading your book at IFA, and here we are now.
So tell me about this new venture, your company. What is it? How did you get started? What made you decide to go from a franchisee, because that's how you started, right, to then buying the company out? Like, just kind of tell me a little bit about who you are and what you did.
Yeah, so, I've been in a family business my entire life. My grandfather started that business out of the trunk of his car with an 8th grade education. And so for me, I think I just always had it innate in my blood that I need to control my own destiny. And I never knew it was going to be through franchising. But for me, I'd get stuck in traffic every single day on the way home. And I'd see this Frios stand there and everyone's happy. I'm miserable in my car. They're happy. I need to stop and figure out what's making them so happy. So I stopped one day. I got the key lime pie pop that we have not changed since that day. And it just put me in an unbelievable experience. It was beyond just the product. It was like, wow, I don't feel stressed. I'm happy. And so I just kept trying it. And then several months later, I became a franchisee of Frios May 1st. It was very serendipitous that the current franchisee had a career change. And was looking to do something else. And so perfect for me. I got to start this as my side hustle. Still was in the family business. But what I did know in franchising was like, there was supposed to be all this support. We all say you go in business for yourself, but not by yourself. But when I became a part of Frios, I was still by myself. There was no access to any kind of training, any support. Our monthly franchise calls were, "Hey, how's everyone doing? It's hot outside. Sell pops. Good luck." And so I just knew something was off there. And so I kept going. And then I realized, like, unbelievable product, bad infrastructure equals opportunity. And so then 8 months later, through negotiation and everything else, December 21st of 2018, I became the franchisor. So it was a quick ride from franchisee to franchisor. And here we are 4 years later and enjoying the ride.
So tell me a little about, first of all, how is your product sold and how many locations do you have? So is it a retail? Is it and for those of the listeners, now I know, but for the people watching today or listening to this live on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube and Instagram and all the other channels, so the company, they can check it out at friospop.com. So FRIOS pops.com for those podcast listeners. So what is it and where do they find you?
Yeah, so that's the greatest story we have in the past 4 years is that when I bought the business, it was all brick and mortar. And it takes a lot of people to come in there to your store to offset that rent.
Right.
But during COVID, and I hate what COVID did to the entire country and the entire world, but COVID was one of the best things that's ever happened to us as a company because it made me realize we got to go to the people. It's impossible to get 1,000 employee company to come into your shop. But now that we transitioned our company to a mobile franchise, we're basically the modern day ice cream truck. You can take that truck and quickly service all 1,000 people because it's a prepackaged product to all those people. And so now we're mobile based. And so there is no more brick and mortar. We're going to the people in our, what we call our sweet rides, our tie-dye wrapped Sprinter vans. They also can have carts as well. And the beautiful thing about our business, rather than calling ourselves a food truck, which we are not, that is a bad word in our industry for us, because our permitting process is a lot easier. They can also wholesale. So think of country clubs and resorts and breweries that, hey, we need a value add product. Frios is a great opportunity for them to have a dessert item. So now we're completely mobile based. When I bought the company, we had 21 territories. We're now at 70 territories and rapidly growing.
Well, you're reaching that magic number in franchising. It's like 100, right? I mean, everybody always says if you can make it to 100 units, there's all different philosophies there. Okay, so you had an entrepreneurial journey. You went from a franchisee to franchisor. You're changing the business model. You are adapting to the market and looking for ways to make it frictionless to reach the market, because that's the key. I mean, there was a time where the model would all retail, but now you've changed the model and the distribution model. What's an average investment? And again, we're not on this show, we're not selling franchises, everybody. For full disclosure, this is for information and educational purposes only. We're not making a pitch or we're not selling a franchise. But what's a typical investment for someone who is interested in joining this franchise organization? What should they have as far as investment and then skill set? So first, what's a ballpark investment that someone would get to be successful? And then second, what characteristics are you looking for in a franchisee?
Yeah, so for us, we're looking for someone that has at least $50,000 in liquidity.
Right.
You can get up and starting very quickly. In our business and a lot of the food truck business, especially ours being able to do by carts, they're cash flowing immediately. So they can set up carts while they're waiting on their van to be built out, which is great for them, or setting up wholesale capabilities. We're looking for that person that is that extrovert. I think hopefully you hear it in my voice, like I'm
Right.
animated. I'm passionate about the product that we're selling and bringing in happiness. We say we sell happiness on a stick. So you want that person that's not scared to pick up the phone and call and land those events and getting involved with the community. Give back to very important, because if you're just that timid person that like, oh, I don't know who I can call or can I go here? Like, that's just not going to be a right fit for us. We need that person that just loves sales or has that marketing capability. But we also understand that with having only 1 or 2 employees, sometimes you can hire that operator on a commission base and saying, hey, you're my salesperson. Like, I know how to run a business and back operations and scale the business. I need you to go sell it for us. And so we help and train as well on like how to find a good operator.
Right. And that's one of the things that makes a successful franchise grow. I mean, me as a keynote speaker, when I go into franchise brands, I'm brought in for 2 reasons. I'm a third-party endorsement to say the things that they're trying to say to their franchisees to build strong relationships. But then I'm also there to help them take accountability for their own success, which is why I wrote Accelerate and Superpower, my 2 famous books. The reason I wrote Accelerate, was because franchise brands needed something that they could give to their franchisees to introduce them to local area marketing and to show them how they could be accountable in alignment with their franchise brand, which is one of the reasons I'm sure you picked up the book was, okay, how do we get our 75 franchisees to be more accountable to go out and do it? So you're looking for characteristics where they're self-starters, they're business people. What's a shelf life for inventory? So if someone buys inventory, is this a perishable product? Like, how long does the product last? If I bought a franchise and I've invested in it, I've got my truck. I know it's not a food truck, but it's my truck, and I've got my cart.
we say it all the time. Yeah.
So if I got my cart and I'm ready to go out and do business, or if I'm going to go out and solicit organizations to offer this, what type of distribution of the product? How long does the product last if I buy it? Hypothetically.
Yeah, great question. So for being a frozen product, it's over a year shelf life, but their churn is so much faster than that.
Right. You're going to be turning the inventory so quick.
Exactly. And they're ordering from us on a weekly basis. And while we might not be selling franchises here on this right now with you,
right,
but I will sell everyone on Accelerate. Like, that was such a pivotal book for me unknowingly. I picked it up because I saw it on LinkedIn and I was like, this might be the answer to what I'm looking for, because of a lot of our franchisees, they think by doing those community give backs and everything, like that's their marketing spin.
Right.
In reality, they need to be doing some of the great ideas and strategies that you had in Accelerate. And so that's now what we're sharing with them and getting them to get the book and saying, hey, apply these principles that I read in Accelerate, apply these to your business and watch it scale. And so it's that whole philosophy of you're going in business for yourself. You've got to market and grow your business. You've got to invest in it. It's not all about the franchisor doing everything for you. We support you and can give you graphics and strategies to do it, but you still need to get out into your community and that referral-based network and everything else, and really building up their business.
Yeah, because the biggest thing in franchising, the biggest challenge of all the CEOs and executives that I've interviewed on this show, the biggest challenge in franchising is the franchisor just wants the franchisee to follow their systems and to use the tools and not reinvent the wheel and to stay in alignment with the brand So whether they're trying to overcome operations or staffing challenges or marketing, whatever the three buckets that for that particular franchise brand they're trying to solve. And then the franchisee just wants the franchisor to drive all the business. And what I would tell any franchisor or business, and again, people watching this show are not just in franchising, we've got executives and Fortune 100 companies and so forth, is the whole thing is all about communication and setting clear expectations. And the expectation for the franchisee is you've got to take personal accountability for your own success. And so the book that he was talking about, for those, I've got a picture on this. If you're listening to the podcast on the Business Growth Show, the book is called Accelerate, the ultimate guide for franchisees to maximize local marketing and boost sales. And the reason I wrote it was for three things. One, I wanted to go to the franchise owner operator. I wanted them to buy it. I wanted the franchise brands to buy it to give to their franchisees. And then if they were a multi-unit or multi-brand owner, to be able to have a consistent system that they can use throughout their channels that's still in alignment. So yes, but I cover the things from grassroots marketing to recruiting to mindset to selling. I mean, any of the modalities that you would have to use in order to sell. Going back to your brand now, what's one of your favorite products that you love of the flavors? Are you adding new flavors, or kind of give me a view of where what's the future look like for Frios Gourmet Pops? Because this is really a gourmet pop.
Yeah, and so this isn't, a science experiment. I go back to key lime pie because that's why I bought the business, and it was near and dear to my heart. But it has limes in there. It has graham cracker in there. It is like what your grandmother made, frozen on a stick. And so if it's blueberry cheesecake, same philosophy, or caramel cheesecake, or if it's strawberry mango, or I lost a serious game of paper, rock, scissors to my son, and we developed blue raspberry. Now, understand There's no such thing as a blue raspberry, but there is natural food coloring.
Right.
And thank God I lost it, because now it's our number 2 flavor, because kids just want blue. So we've got a lot more innovation in our pipeline that could radically change who we sell to, how we sell to. So we're really excited about that. Hopefully launching that, hopefully by the end of the year. And so, yeah, it's just in a good place with product innovation. A rough day at the office for me is when our production manager comes into my office with 5 to 10 new flavors and says, "Hey, try these. What do you think?" So it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, and I know that with any business, there's diversification and then there's diversification. One of the things that at IFA, actually, I was on a panel with Great Clips CEO and Charles Watson from Tropical Smoothie and Steve Lasky from Legends Brands and Rob Goggins, of course, from Great Clips. And we were talking about how do you create a culture, how do you drive maintain, and how do you drive it? So how do you create, drive, and maintain a culture? Because it's so important. And one of the things that Rob talked about was helping their franchisees understand that they need to stay in the lane. And that's one of the things really important that I know that you do with your franchisees is, they can buy your franchise and they can promote it, but you still want them to follow your systems. You don't want them to create their own flavors and create their own, I'm going to sell donuts, or they start trying to put other products into the mix so the lesson here really is, if you've got a franchise brand, go deep, don't try to go wide, don't try to reinvent the wheel and do things differently. Obviously you can have a feedback loop to the corporate office to, let them know what's working and what the best practices are. But as a business owner or franchise owner, you really need to look at, it's not so much the grass is greener somewhere else, because you still have to mow the lawn. It's really about staying true to the system, because it does work. And, success leaves clues. And of course that's not me, but that's not my saying, is what I'm trying to say, but it really does. Yeah. And what I love about franchising, why I've really gravitated to it over the years, and speak at big brands and small brands, all the way up to brands that have 45,000 units, all the way down to, hey, we're a startup, we've got 20 units and we're just trying to fix it. What I like is your innovation to low barrier to entry, because again, 50 grand is not a cheap amount, but it's not like 500,000. I mean, I could, if I'm going to open up a retail, restaurant with 90 employees, obviously the investment's much different. And I like things that are recession proof. I would think that this is kind of a recession proof business, because everybody wants to feel good and get a treat, right?
It's permissible indulgence is what it is. If you got good grades or whatever it may be, you're creating that experience around the product. And the ice cream truck has been around for however long it's been around, 100 plus years. It's not going anywhere. And so that's what the exciting thing is about. Like, it's just what people fall into. If they're having a bad day or whatever it is, we know that we get to go put a smile on someone's face and change that attitude and that mindset and create those little bitty experiences. It's always that, my image in my head has always been that dad that's been stressed at work and just, he comes home, loosens up the tie a little bit and enjoys a Frios with the kids. And it puts a smile on your face. You don't worry about a care in the world that you've had at your office or anything else. All you're doing is creating an enjoyable moment with your kids in that time and spending time with your family. And so that's what we're all about. And that's what's to our culture. It goes back to our culture. That's all we're trying to do is you're trying to put, doesn't matter what's going on in your office or your home life or anything else. Once you get on that sweet ride and you go to that corporate event, or if you go to that birthday party, whatever it is, you're putting smiles on people's faces and it immediately changes your mindset because you're smiling as well. And so that's what we're putting out through our great tasting of pops.
Well, I think what's really good about having you on today is, everybody, we're not talking about the product. If you listen to Cliff and what he's saying, the lessons here are, it's about the experience. It's about the feeling. It's about the end result. It's not about, yes, they're great tasting and they're gourmet, but it's also, it's like you said, the rewarding. You can take your sports team afterwards and get one. You can use it for grades. You can use it for incentives. You can use it for date night. You can use it for a lot of different ways, but it's about the experience and the memories that are created in sharing it, and especially doing something unique. Right. And so I love something unique. What's an average cost for someone buying, not a customer? So what's an average ticket when someone comes and says, I want one? What's an average sale typically worth?
Yeah, so on average, we retail these pops from $4 to $5.
That's pretty cheap, really.
Like, wow, $4 to $5. That's great. And some people say, "Oh, that's great," but once you try the product, you're like, "Wow, this is like eating a cake," or "This is like eating real fruits and everything else." So it's like clean ingredients. It's not. Again, I go back to it. It's not some science project where it's like yellow dye number 5 and all this kind of crazy like flavorings. No, it is real limes in there, or real strawberries, or real mangoes, or pineapples. And our production team, like when we do watermelon, we get pallets and pallets of real watermelons that we're having to cut up and make by hand. And so that's where the value is this handmade gourmet pop. And again, you said it best. We don't, in our imaging and everything else, we don't really focus on the flavor. Like, that's not it. That's just the vessel of which you get to enjoy it. But it's what it makes you feel. And that's what made me buy this company. It was a great tasting pop, but it took me back to my childhood. It took me back to I tell everyone, the colors got more vibrant. Birds started singing. It was an experience. And that's what we try to create for every one of our customers, saying, I always go back to the story of, I was finishing up a run one day and my 9-year-old neighbor at the time, she said, "Cliff, those pops you gave me for my birthday yesterday made me feel like a little girl again." And that was my aha moment. It's not about the pop. It's about what it makes you feel. And so from that point on, we've changed up our philosophy. Yeah, we've got a lot of people have amazing product, but how do you differentiate yourself? And that's just it. It's what you're doing to take yourself to that next level. And Brian Chesky with Airbnb said it best. And everyone should go back and look at that article and read it in depth. But he talks about, like, hey, for his guests, what's a 1-star experience? Well, somebody books it, but the room's not available and it's dirty or whatever. That's a 1-star experience. What's a 5-star? You meet all their expectations. The room is clean. You got them a note. Maybe there's a bottle of wine in that Airbnb for them. You got great soap products, everything. That's a 5-star. What's a 10-star? 10 stars, you pick them up on an airplane. You fly them into there. You roll the red carpet out. You know them by name. You have all their favorite drinks. Once you realize, okay, it's difficult to do a 10-star, that's how easy it is to give that 5-star review to your customer every single time. So that's our philosophy, is like, this is a crazy 10-star idea. Now look how easy it is just to meet the expectations and do a little extra for them to get that 5-star review every time.
Absolutely. Well, it's interesting when I talk about customer experience to brands, I share that it's just about being 5% better. It's not about being 100% better. The bar is so low right now in customer engagement and customer experience with a lot of companies that sometimes just doing the basic things. I mean, everybody knows in quick serve restaurants or fast casual or first service dining or food trucks, or in this general population, Chick-fil-A always gets mentioned, because of customer service, the customer service. Now there's bad experiences too. But the point is that they really do a great job of training and onboarding and conditioning the culture into it. So they don't say no problem. They say my pleasure. So it's just certain little nuances that they do. When you're thinking about marketing, so if you have a business, what advice would you give somebody that has a business that's a local marketing business and they need to go out and find customers? So what's something that if I was a franchisee and I said, hey, Cliff, I just bought this territory and thank you, my truck just got here, but I really don't know where to start. Now, obviously, I would want you to say, get a copy of Accelerate, but let's putting that aside, assuming that they get the book and they read the book.
That's our new FTD. Everyone, it comes with the all 20 package. You get the book Accelerate.
Yeah, and that's perfect. But on addition, where would you have them start? So if someone's looking to get new customers for your type of business, where should they go, and what should they do first?
I tell every candidate that signs up or every franchisee that signs up with us, the first thing they need to do, and the most scared they're wanting not to do, is text the last 20 people in your phone and tell them about your business, because that's your friends and family. Everyone gets so scared to talk to their friends and family about their new venture and what they're doing. But in reality, those are the people that are rooting for you the most. And so those are the people that are willing to, again, your network is your net worth, and those are your closest network. So why wouldn't they, if you said, hey, look, I'm a part of Frios now, we're an event-based business, we're selling happiness through Gourmet Pops. If you're having an event or know someone to have an event, we'd love to be a part of, or we'd love you to try the product. They're going to be like, oh, yeah, well, my friend's doing this coming up, or my kid's got a birthday, this, that. So you can start landing events just with texting the last 20 people in your phone. It's such a simple strategy. But I find that so many people are scared to reach out to their friends and family.
So doing the basics. Next question. If you've got the basics, do you have any rewards program or punch card or referral, or are you building your list? Like if I own a territory and someone's buying, am I doing anything incentivized to get them? So here's where I'm going with this. So let me tell you where I'm going.
Okay.
So again, I've looked at the website and I know a little bit about the product, but I haven't, since there's not one here. If there is one here, I need to know, because I'm going to start, I'll cater him in for my next lunch and learn. But my question is, if I wanted a Frios Pop today, and I live in Wichita, Kansas, and let's say there was a territory here in Wichita, Kansas, if they're a cart or a truck or, a delivery method like that, how do I buy it when it's not where I don't know where they're located? Like, do you guys encourage your franchisees to post on Facebook? Like, I know there's a barbecue place. I think it's called the Flying Pig. I don't even remember the name, but I do know that the barbecue is really good. And when I want to do it, I have to go to Facebook and I have to go to their Facebook page to find out where are they going to be today. Is that something you guys do too? Or how do you get the customers to come to you when they have the need, but they don't necessarily know where you are?
Yeah, so we've kind of modernized, instead of driving around aimlessly, kind of like the ice cream truck of old does, we're more strategic. We're making announcements of where we're going to be throughout the week, because that is the downfall of a mobile business.
Right.
You're not everywhere so someone can get it. But that's the beautiful thing about our business compared to other food trucks, is because our franchisees are also putting out, hey, while we might not be out today roaming the streets, here are a list of our wholesale accounts. We're more than welcome to go buy them at the coffee shop, at the clothing store. So the
franchisee really does need to set up their distribution network of the wholesalers, where maybe they're not making the margin, but they're making it up on volume, and then they can also have it so that they're not really doing channel. So everybody in marketing, there's something called channel conflict. Well, if I was a franchisee and I sold to a bunch of local businesses or restaurants or whatever that offered it, if I have the truck or the cart, I still don't see that as a channel conflict, because it's a different experience, right? They're going somewhere different. So I think that's really good. Now, what's your thought about not calling it a food truck? Like, so someone like me, a layman person, I would think, oh, it's a food truck business, but what is the stigma around it that because you're in this business, about that whole industry? Is it a bad thing? Is it a good thing? So my question is, one, how do you see it as a franchisor? How does the franchisee see it when they're interested in becoming a franchisee? But the customer, to me, I would think I would call it. Like if I was talking to my producer, Alex, who's listening here, and I said, hey, Alex, let's go get a Frios Pop. we would say, well, where's the truck at today? Or where's the cart at today?
Yeah. So when we talk customer base, we're not going to talk about the end consumer that's actually buying the product itself. They can
Right.
call it a food truck. That doesn't matter. But our competitive advantage when we're trying to sell systems and territories, it's a huge competitive advantage for us.
Gotcha.
One, being a prepackaged product, we don't have to have the 3-compartment sinks and all this. There's no food loss.
Gotcha. So it's not the challenges that come along with a typical food truck.
Exactly. And it's much easier 90% of the time when you're trying to get permitting inside of a municipality. So it's a huge competitive advantage for us.
Got it. So it's more of the, and that's the thing I don't know because I've never had one. That's what I was curious about.
Yeah.
So from a user standpoint, it's okay, but you want to talk about it something differently. But then from a business standpoint, the relationship there is you don't want them to think that there's all these regulations and all these liability issues that come with a traditional, like I have a taco food truck and now I've got gas and waste and, reclaim my water and all the other things that come with it. All right, great.
Our customers say, hey, when's the food truck coming by? When's the Frios food truck? That's fine. We're going to food truck festivals.
Gotcha.
That's fine. We're going to be lumped into that. But it's on the back end side that we're bringing people on.
Well, I really appreciate any closing thoughts you have for our listeners today. For those of you listening to the Business Growth Show on the podcast, this is Cliff Kennedy. He's the CEO of Frios Pop, which is Frios Gourmet Pops, and friospops.com. By all means, put some comments in below if you love the product. Let us know, give us feedback. Or if you're interested, by all means, reach out to Cliff Kennedy. You can find him on LinkedIn. You can just go to Frios Pop, and his picture is on there because I saw it on there in the About Us page. So I know it's on your website. But I really appreciate you giving me the shout out for Accelerate. When's your next annual conference? Are you having a conference for anything?
Yeah, we're getting excited for it. This will be our first annual conference in Dallas, Texas, November 10th and 11th. So we're excited.
Well, who's speaking at it? I'm going to sell myself. Who do you have coming in to speak? Do we need to talk offline?
Yeah, we'll definitely be talking offline. We're trying to finalize like locations and all that kind of stuff right now with our team. But you are definitely top of list, especially because I need my franchisees to hear from you. And again, this is not a shameless plug or called a shameless plug, but the value that I got in that book, I rarely read a book that fast, but I read it pretty quickly. And this is one of those books that I was highlighting and taking notes and sending pictures to my team. That's how valuable I found it as a franchisor when I struggle with franchisees not knowing what to do and not me understanding how to tell them, hey, this is what you need to do for your territory. This is your business. I'm not in control of that. Like once they see it from you and the respect that you have in the franchising industry and the weight that you carry behind your brand and everything else, like then they'll get it like, okay, this isn't just Cliff and the franchisor telling me I need to do this. This is like industry knowledge. That's what I need to do for my own business.
Well, thank you so much. So we go live, everybody, on Fordify Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Central on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, and a few other platforms. This is a podcast episode on the Business Growth Show on your favorite podcast platform. Anyway, Cliff, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you sharing your insights.
No, thanks so much for having me.